Yes, 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 Source Nation. How's everybody doing? Good evening. Wishing you a very good evening. And I'm still going to wish everybody a Happy New Year because we're still bringing it in. So Happy New Year to you. Wishing you great blessings in health, family, love, career success, spiritual progress, and the accomplishment of your dreams. Now, Source Nation, like I said before, I want you to be gentle and be easy with me. It's only our second date tonight. We had our first date last week, but based on the feedback we're getting, really intellectually intimate. So before we get all started, everybody get your coffee, get your wine, get your moonshine, get your water. You can turn your water to wine. I'm going to need my shoehorn because we're going to try and put my foot all up in tonight's topic. We're going to have real fun. Class is in session tonight. Make sure that you share the link with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. We are at www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio. Now, like I said, I am your host, Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag, and I want to welcome you to my show, The Pendulum. Now, a pendulum is an apparatus that people associate with the clock. It helps gauge time and space. It traverses through time in a constant backward and forward motion. Some would say retrograde to anterograde. This is what we'll be doing throughout the show as I engage in topics. We have to connect the dots of the past, present, and future. This show is designed to encourage the 4 Ds: debate, dialogue, discussion, and discourse. Now, gather your friends and family as we prepare to travel from past to the present, have discussions of future implications and projections with correlations to African Americans. From the world to the White House to the hood and everything good, the pendulum is swinging your way. Now, tonight's topic, this is serious. I did a lot of reading and research from the last week up to the last minute of the start of the show because I'm trying to make sure that I can fit all this in, and we might even have to do a part 2 that is so deep. Tonight's show, we're breaking down how the masters of the universe, or would-be and want-to-be masters of the universe, are engaging in a global and domestic land grab. That's right, land grab. And this land grab is leaving us playing musical chairs and begging for a seat at the table. Now, when I say this land grab, I'm going to articulate 8 ways in which this is happening. Number 1, the buying of private islands. Number 2, the buying of corporations are buying massive swaths of land. Number 3, by the use of eminent domain and easement. Number 4, by buying up water rights all around the globe. Number 5, by trying to privatize and purchase the national parks in America. Number 6, by government acts passed by Congress and signed and executed by the President of the United States. Number 7, by the process of gentrification. And number 8, by religious groups that are purchasing gargantuan masses of land. This is what we're going to be discussing tonight. We are going to get in. We're going to get intimate. Hope you have your pen and paper available. Let's jump right in. We're in the midst of a global land grab. What do I mean by that? First of all, let me make sure I get my preface out. It's time for us to stop with the small talk. We always hear people talking about, oh, I'm going to rep my block. You know, I'm fighting over my corner. This is my corner. This is my block. I'm repping the hood. It's time to stop with the small talk, okay? Next thing, I need everybody to get a visual idea in their head of what 1 acre of land looks like. See, we often hear acres, but we don't conceptualize what an acre looks like. An acre looks just like an NFL football field. The NFL grid has 100 yards, has 90 yards. So it's just 10 yards short of an NFL grid. So just think of it as an NFL grid, 100 yards. Now that we have the acre in mind, let's kind of get this pot cooking. Now, we're at a crucial moment in time when we as domestic and global citizens, stewards of the earth, realize that we're in a global land grab. It's a race to the bottom where the global elite believe they are the masters of the universe. From door to city limits, to county lines, to interstate boundaries, coast to coast, shore to shore, country to continent, we're witnessing the real-life musical chairs, except the chairs are homes. The chairs are blocks. The chairs are communities, estates, acres, islands, vast swaths of land. All of this is being brought up and hoarded by a triad. Now, when I say a triad, meaning a three-component dynamic, what is the triad that's going around domestically and globally buying up and hoarding all of the land? One are the rich, wealthy elite. Two, business corporations. Three, your government and military. Those are the three. That's the triad right there. Your elite, your corporations, and the government partner with the military. Now, the famous cliche, you can't grow more earth. Earth is a measurable mass of finite resources. It has specific measurements and dimensions. Once it's owned, you can only get earth by purchasing it from somebody else that already has it, by inheritance, by bequeathing of it, by war, by usurpation of force, government declaration, or philanthropy. Now, we must also understand the power and the potential of land. Why is Samori talking about this tonight? Why was he amping this up on social media? Land is pregnant with minerals and rare elements and metals. Land has water below in the form of wells and aquifers. It's traversed with rivers, streams, estuaries, and lakes. Land has oil and natural gas. Land facilitates horticulture and agriculture. Land provides orchards, groves, farms, ranches, lumber groves, vineyards, all the fruits and vegetables, the plants and medicinal herbs that we need to maintain and sustain the vitality of our life. Land provides the spaces for hospitals, schools, housing, military installations, factories, casinos, tourism, and other industrial developments. Do you see where I'm going? Why is it important? We're up here going around here renting apartments, renting homes, and we're not buying anything. Yet everybody else, the triad, is going around the globe buying everything up. Soon there will not be anything left to sustain for you, your children, your grandchildren. What are you going to do about it? This is why it's important, okay? So I did my homework. I want to share with you the research I did. Trust me, I was reading over 30 articles, pulling out the resources and the high points. So let's get this started. Number one, April 2015, Forbes magazine put out an article that said Apple, now remember what I said, 1 acre is basically the size of an NFL football field. Apple, you know, the company that owns your iPod and your iPhone and your laptop, Apple is purchasing forests, okay? Forests with, trees and stuff, forests. And they've purchased 3,600 acres in North Carolina of forestry. A county called Aroostook, Maine. Apple, the same company, has purchased 32,400 acres of forestry. Okay? So you might as well say Apple owns 32,400 football fields in Aroostook County, Maine, and 3,600 football fields in North Carolina. That's how much land Apple has acquired, right? Right here. Not only that, Business Insider, very good business publication, they published an article and they were detailing how Apple purchased a 5,000-acre military base. It was a closed military base. They put their bid in and they purchased it from the U.S. government. It's 40 miles north of Silicon Valley in California. And they're using this so they can do research and development and testing of their future automobiles, like driverless cars and things of that nature. 5,000 acres, basically 5,000 football fields. Okay? Let's move along. May of 2015, Fortune magazine published an article. This is your company. This is your iPad, your iPod, your iPhone, your MacBook Pro. Guess what they did? While we're fighting over blocks and corners of blocks in drug warfare and gang warfare and all this other stuff, repping the hood, guess what Apple did? They purchased 1.1 million acres of forestry in China. Now they just went global with it. They purchased 1.1 million acres of forest in China. How do you feel now? Are you doing what you need to be doing to secure a future financially, economically for your children? I'm not done yet. I'm still going in. March 2014, the Washington Post. I hope you're writing down the publications and the dates so you can look at this on your own. March 2014, the Washington Post published an article that detailed how the Koch brothers own 1.1 million acres of land in Alberta, Canada. Did you know that? That's roughly the size of Delaware. The Koch brothers own 1.1 million acres of land in Alberta, Canada. And this land, it's rich in oil sands and tar sands. And these are the sands and deposits that are rich, that crude oil that, these are the sands that these major oil companies are trying to make claims and stakes in. This is where you have Phillips and ExxonMobil and Chevron and Shell. They're all trying to compete for land and control that, because what they're doing is they're taking these oil sands from Canada, and that's why they tried to have the Keystone XL pipeline to run it from Canada down the U.S. into the Gulf. But then that got nixed, and so then they said, okay, well, we'll do the Dakota Access Pipeline and bring it down from Canada into the Gulf. Okay? So that's the Koch brothers. Now, let's move along. Let's move past Canada. Let's move past North Carolina. Let's move past Maine. Let's move past China. The next thing. Now we're talking about the uprooting of generations of natural inhabitants of landmass. The Washington Post did an article, July 2014, that documented the Yanomami tribe of Brazil and Venezuela that have inhabited the Amazon rainforest for generations. The government, with ties to corporations, wants to pass a decree that the land can be used for, quote, public interest. This would include farming, mining, oil and gas pipelines, hydroelectric dams, human settlements, and military operations. This will ultimately displace 40,000 Yanomami tribe members from a combined landmass of 69,000 square miles between Brazil and Venezuela. So do you see what I'm saying? Now you have the government and the military. This is down in South America with Brazil and Venezuela. You have the Yanomami people that have been there for generations on top of generations, but in quote, public interest, we're going to uproot you from where you've been inhabited for a very long time, and we're going to uproot you, and we're going to acquire that land. Musical chairs, people. Musical chairs. Now, moving along. April 2015. This was a very interesting report. U.S. News and World Report in April 2015 said 7.4 million acres of valuable land in the United States has been lost due to the energy boom of 2000 to 2013. They further noted that there are over 1 million fracking, oil well, horizontal oil drilling sites across America now, and that we've lost what's equivalent to 3 Yellowstone national parks due to the oil industry. Not only that, in May of 2016, U.S. News and World Report published an article that says China has claimed control of 3,200 acres in the South China Sea. Now, this is for development of military operations, military gain, and make sure they have maritime control of that aquatic region. Now, this is one thing that you don't hear in the news, but the U.S. is engaged in a conflict with China now over in the South China Sea. But that is on the hush. You have to do your research. It's paramount. Now, the Keystone XL pipeline and the Dakota Access Pipeline, these are oil industry infrastructure projects that would transfer oil from Canada to the Gulf. The Keystone XL would have been a 1,700-mile pipeline that would have extended through the mighty Sioux Nation, the Rosebud Sioux Nation. And the Rosebud Sioux Reservation has a total landmass of 922,759 acres. So almost 1 million acres The Rosebud Mighty Sioux Reservation, they have that. And that was guaranteed to them under the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie between the U.S. government and the Sioux Nation. So, seeing that they were about to renege on that promise and the whole complaint and issue of going through sacred lands and environmental toxins and pollution and contamination, that got nixed. Then they came up with the Bakken pipeline, which is the same name as the Dakota Access Pipeline. And we saw what just happened with that, where they were firing water cannons at the natives, sicking dogs on the natives, arresting them and doing other things for protest. And that was backed by the big energy titans, Sunoco, Energy Transfer Partners, Phillips 66, Enbridge, and Marathon Petroleum. This is realness right here. This is what's going on, right? Okay. Now, let's talk some more about eminent domain, right? That was one of the angles I said how this stuff is happening. You have the Holleran family. This is the last name of the family. The Holleran family. This was published in RT News in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania. They own a maple tree grove that the local government is using eminent domain to take control of their maple tree grove in Pennsylvania. And what they want to do is they want to develop an oil pipeline from northern Pennsylvania to Albany, New York, right? Now, the judge of the case, because the family, the Holland family, filed up the case. So you can't come in our land. This maple tree groves have been it's our families. The judge ruled in the favor of the oil company and said, we will dispatch U.S. Marshals to arrest anybody that interferes with the cutting down of the maple trees on your property. So even though you've owned this property for decades to years, it's probably been passed down generation to generation, another form of generational wealth, I'm giving this company approval to cut down your maple grove trees so that they can build this pipeline from northern Pennsylvania to Albany, New York. And if you try to protest on your own land, have U.S. Marshals arrest you. And the funny thing about it, how ironic, the name of the pipeline that they're building is called the Constitution Pipeline. And how is that? All right, family, let's keep moving on. Here is another thing. I said religious institutions are purchasing a lot of land. Some of our churches need to practice this too. November 2013, the Mormon Church, all right? We think of the Mormon Church, we think of Utah, but in November 2013, the Mormon Church in Florida purchased 382,000 acres of land in northwest Florida, okay? 382,000 acres. Remember, 1 acre is the size of a football field. The Mormon Church already owns 290,000 acres of land in Florida. And this deal would push the Mormon Church to be almost the largest land owner in Florida, because they'll have over 600,000 acres of land. The Mormons already own 7,000 acres in Hawaii and several other plots of land in Utah and other states. All right. Now, here's something else that we have to pay attention to. There's what's called the 1906 Antiquities Act that was passed by Congress, right? Okay. The Antiquities Act, it gives the President of the United States the right to declare and decree different land masses, even aquatic land masses like bodies of water, as national sanctuaries of the United States, meaning it's a hands-off. No companies can own this. No religious institutions can own this. No citizens can own this or purchase. This is strictly conserved and preserved for cultural, scientific, historical means, whatever they need. Now, President Obama extended the aquatic U.S. Pacific remote islands marine monuments, right? Now, here's the thing about this. The Pacific remote islands, President Bush established this in 2009. Obama has now expanded control. When Bush had claimed control of the Pacific remote islands, that was 87,000 square miles of water. 87,000 square miles. President Obama pushed it to the limit. He now expanded it to 782,000 square miles, according to a 2014 Washington Post article. So President Bush declared 87,000 square miles of water as U.S. domain for marine monuments, and Obama came behind during his presidency and stretched it out to 782,000 square miles, right? All right. Now, we're going to move along, but real quick, because I know everybody is doing a little bit of everything. Some people are just tuning in, and so I want to make sure that everybody knows what you're tuning into. To Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag. You're listening to The Pendulum on Source Radio Network, www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio. And tonight, the topic of discussion is the global land grab, how the masters of the universe are buying up all the land and resources, and us little people are playing musical chairs. All right. So now, let's continue on. June 2013. Now, this is when we talk about how we have to understand group economics. You know, we have to make sure that we practice group economics. But hold on one second. Like we may have a question in the chat room. Let's see what the chat room says. People say, vote others in office, but those that come in aren't honest either. And then with the judges siding with big business, what can we do? Please don't say pray. We need action. I agree 100%. Cannot pray people out of office. You cannot pray away people that are preying on you. I'm going to address that answer in the solutions section. We don't just want to point out problems without pointing out solutions. So we're definitely going to address that. Great question. All right. Now, group economics. June 2013, NPR, National Public Radio, published an article and revealed that a small group of young millennials, right? So the young millennials, flush with cash, they're coming together and they formed a group. The name of the group that they formed in 2013 is called the Summit Group. They did their group economics. They got investors, and guess what they purchased? I want you to think about this. Guess what they purchased? They purchased their own 10,000-acre mountain. It's called Powder Mountain, and it's in Utah. And the mountain will be used for retreats, meetings, getaways, private housing, ski lodges, and etc. Do you see what I'm saying right here? You have a mountain. You ever thought about buying a mountain? I read the article and my mouth dropped. And I'm thinking about my friends and what we do, and I'm like, we really have to get our act together. This is why I decided to make sure that I come with the heat and the information. Moving along, we talked about the acquisition of water rights globally and domestically. I don't even know where this is right now because the article that I'm going to give you a brief synopsis on was a June 2008 article, okay? We're now in 2017. But this is from a 2008 Bloomberg Business News report. Many people don't know, but some people do know about a Texas tycoon by the name of T. Boone Pickens. T. Boone Pickens owns a 68,000-acre ranch in Texas. So basically he owns 68,000 football fields worth of land, okay? And it sits on top of the Ogallala Aquifer, okay? The aquifer, these are just pockets of water that sit below the earth, all right? T. Boone Pickens is the largest, listen to what I'm saying carefully, he is the largest water rights owner in the country. So when you buy land, when you buy houses, when you buy property, some people don't understand this. You need to make sure that you ask, do I own or can I purchase the mineral rights and the water rights of the property also? Most people just think of, I have my backyard, I have my front yard, I have my side yard, I have my house. If you don't know, you need to research water rights and mineral rights. Anything below that property, you can purchase and own that. So, T. Boone Pickens is the largest water rights owner in the country, and he wants to sell up to 65 billion, with a B, gallons of water annually to Dallas by piping and ground transportation. But that's not all. You need to hear how much water this man owns in water rights. The Ogallala Aquifer that his 65,000-acre ranch sits on top of contains a quadrillion gallons of fresh water. I didn't say a million. I didn't say a billion. I didn't say a trillion. It sits on a quadrillion gallons of fresh water. Do you hear me? We're not playing any games. I came here to put my foot in this presentation tonight. And I'm not saying a quadrillion to make it sound big. No, that is the actual dimensions and specifications of the amount of water he owns in the Ogallala Aquifer. Moving along. May of 2016 in RT News, the Supreme Court of the state of Maine, here we go with water rights again, it gave Nestle, we know Nestle, Nestle Crunch, Nestle Water. Nestle also owns Deer Park. Nestle also owns Arrowhead Spring Water and a lot of other waters that you think are their own independent thing. They're just subsidiaries of Nestle. So listen, Court of the state of Maine gave Nestle control of the groundwater rights of Fryeburg, Maine. So this is where you have that compromise of, as the person had asked in the chat room, where you have the compromise of government officials that are giving leeway and preference to corporations. The Supreme Court of the state of Maine gave Nestle control of the town of Fryeburg in Maine, control of the city's water rights for 45 years. Poland Spring is the subsidiary of Nestle. It was granted the authority to take 603,000 gallons of water per day from that city's water supply. This is approximately 2.3 million liters of water per day that Nestle gets. They can pump that out. And Nestle only has to pay the town of Fryeburg, Maine, $12,000 per month. That is pennies to the dollar, $12,000 a month when you're pumping out 2.3 million liters of water per day and you're bottling that up. How much will Nestle generate in revenue when it's packaged and it's bottled and sold throughout the world? Okay, here's another one. We're talking about water rights. May of 2016, this is last year, May, USA Today published an article. It detailed that Nestle Water is embroiled in a battle with United States Forest Service. So now you have the corporations battling the government. The Department of Forest Services, Nestle had an agreement that they could pump water from the National Forest in San Bernardino, California. Okay? But here's the kicker. The agreement was forged a long time ago, and the agreement expired in 1988. Not 2008, not 1998. It expired in 1988. But Nestle continued to pump water from the San Bernardino, California National Forest all the way up till now. When the Forest Service really got wind of it and started trying to, take control of the situation, they reevaluated and said, we would give Nestle a 5-year agreement, and Nestle refused. And Nestle said that the Forest Service overstepping and infringing on the water rights of Nestle. Now, how about that? You had an agreement that expired in 1988. You continued to pump all the way up until 2016, and then you have the nerve to turn to the National Forest Service of the government and say, you know what, you're infringing on our water rights. Masters of the universe. Last year alone, Nestle pumped 36 million gallons of water from San Bernardino National Forest under the Arrowhead Spring Water brand. Just last year, 36 million gallons of water. So it begs the question, how much water were they getting from the end of 1988 when it expired up till now? Okay? Moving along, June 2016, Bloomberg Business showed that Nestle also acquired groundwater rights in Phoenix, Arizona to pump a scheduled 36 million gallons of water annually out of Phoenix to be bottled and sold. So, we're seeing the acquisition of water rights. Now, here's something else. We talk about this global land grab. They're going places you're not even thinking about. July 2016, Bloomberg Business published an article that showed how De Beers, the diamond company, De Beers and other exploration companies and diamond manufacturers have staked over 50 million acres of frozen Canadian tundra to scour for digs for diamonds in obscure regions. In the ice, getting ice. They're in the ice getting ice. 50 million acres of frozen tundra. Are you thinking along those lines? I mean, as I'm reading this, my mind is blown. My mind is blown. I was reading, I was just like, this is something else right here. This is just simply amazing. Let's keep it moving because, I got to make sure I can stay within the time frame so that we can get this information. Here's something else. It's imperative that we discuss the push to privatize national state parks. All right? Most people, state parks are owned by the government. But you have private corporations, you have high bidders, and you have states that are trying to get individual state control. And once they have state control, they can then auction off to private owners. John Poindexter, a lot of people don't know who John Poindexter is, but he's the owner of a 30,000-acre called Cibolo Creek Ranch. It's in Texas. But do you know where this ranch is? This is the same ranch that Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died at. So you're out there hunting and all of that, X, Y, and Z. But this is the same 30,000-acre ranch that Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died. Now, he owns, John Poindexter owns that ranch. But guess what John Poindexter was doing also? Aside from this 30,000-acre ranch that he already owns, he's trying to purchase 46,000 acres of land from the Texas State Park. Now, if this trend and this precedent goes through, we're in a world of trouble. This is where you have people, nobody has the right to these federal lands, these federal 1,000 acres. Now, I want to move along because there's so much to be discussed. Here is another thing. We have to talk about real estate acquisition strategies. Now, remember this. There are private equity firms, there are hedge funds, and there are investment firms. Now, I'm going to name a few. Keep this in mind. You have the Blackstone Group, you have Cerebras, you have Colony Starwood Homes, you have the Carlyle Group, and you have American Homes for Rent, and you have a few more. But guess what these companies did, these private equity firms, hedge funds, and investment firms? Guess what they did? During the 2008 financial crisis, the Blackstone Group spent more than $2.5 billion on buying 16,000 foreclosed homes, okay? They purchased 16,000 homes that were foreclosed on, and they're going to manage them as single-family rentals, meaning they're not going to put them back on the market for sale. No, they are keeping that as assets. The only thing they're going to do is say, you can rent here, and I'll be controlling the lease. I'll decide when to kick you out or not. But these 16,000 homes, we own that. We have that. That's part of our holdings. Now, here's the other kicker. Blackstone already owns $1 billion worth of homes. And listen to this. The chairman of the Blackstone Group, his name is Steven Schwartzman. He said the company, listen to what I'm saying, The company is spending $100 million a week on houses. They're spending $100 million per week to buy up all these foreclosed houses, to hoard and to hold, only to release as rental property. And he said that the conversion of private property to single-family rentals is projected to be a $3 trillion market. A 3 with a T, trillion-dollar market. We have got to get together. All right, now let's move along. We must also discuss the buying up of private islands. And I'm going to run through this fast now. You have billionaires going around the globe buying up islands. So we're not talking about blocks or nothing like that. Buying up islands. Private islands. You have Larry Ellison of Oracle. He owns 98% of the Hawaiian island of Lanai. You have Ted Turner, the owner of CNN. He owns his own 4,600-acre island of St. Phillips, right on the coast of South Carolina. You have Richard Branson of Virgin, who purchased Necker Island of the British Virgin Islands. You have John Malone. He's an American media mogul who purchased the island of Sampson Bay in the Bahamas. You have your Hollywood actor, Mel Gibson. He owns a $15 million, 5,400-acre private island of Mago. You have your singer and songwriter, Shakira. She purchased what's called the Bonds Cay, a 700-acre island that's north of the Bahamas. Bill Gates owns a $25 million, 314-acre island in the Republic of Belize. And you have Bernard Arnault. You should know this. He is the CEO of Louis Vuitton and Hennessy. He's the fifth richest person in the world, and he's worth $40 billion. He owns a 103-acre oasis in the Bahamas. Right? So we're getting it in. Class is in session. Now, let's talk about the Antiquities Act of 1906. This was signed into law under Theodore Roosevelt. It gave the president the power to designate national monuments of the North American continent, and it could be set aside for ecological, cultural, historical preservation, right? President Obama has designated more than any president. Listen to what I'm saying right here. Now, a lot of people were saying, Obama could have did more for blacks. We need to discuss reparations. Obama really didn't move his foot on reparations. We didn't press him. But he could have done something. Let me show you why he could have done something. They say there are 40 million African Americans, approximately 40 million African Americans in America. Under Obama's administration, using the Antiquities Act of 1906, under his administration alone, he designated 550 million acres of land as just sanctuary land. Nobody can have it for ecological, cultural, historical preservation. Companies can't have it. You can't buy it. But when you think of slavery, you think of reparations, and you say there's 40 million African Americans, and you designated 550 million acres, you divide that 550 million acres by 40 million African Americans, that right there would be, now I did the math, it comes out to 13.7 acres per African American in this country. That means you who's listening could have 13.7 football fields of land. There's things that could have been done. Okay. Long story short, you have these companies, you have these the wealthy landowners, and you have the government that are getting this land. Now, we must not forget about the threat of our neighborhoods. It's right in our face, the dynamic of gentrification, right? Between the city and state government deals with corporate land developers and real estate firms, we're seeing masses of citizens being uprooted from neighborhoods. They've been long-term inhabitants, people being pushed out by rising rent, rising property taxes, rising real estate values, and it decreases the affordability of housing. And then what's happening with gentrification is the culture and the history of neighborhoods are being erased. The citizens are being replaced by young millennials that are flush with cash from the defense industry, the technology industry, the scientific community, the intelligence community, law firms, and big contracts. They're coming in and they're buying up all this land. And then many of the traditional citizens of the neighborhoods, they're baby boomers. Some of them are fixed retirement income. Some of them are our parents. And a lot of other inhabitants of the neighborhood are, they have service-based jobs. And you see this typically like in places like Chicago, Detroit, New York, D.C., Baltimore, Pennsylvania, all around the country. And so this is when you have traditional neighborhood stores, black-owned businesses. Everything is being replaced by yoga studios, coffee shops, cycling studios, pet care emporiums, trendy restaurants, luxury grocery stores, all sorts of things of that nature. One big case that people need to pay attention to also is what's happening in Plantersville, South Carolina. And what's happening in Plantersville, South Carolina is you have the Gullah and the Geechee family line. These direct ancestors from Africa that are here in South Carolina from generations. You have corporations and wealthy individuals eyeing their property to buy that up. So we got to keep an eye on that. All right? So we're getting kind of close to wrapping up the show, but I'm going to run this down to you. I hope you pay attention and replay the broadcast. I'm going to list some of the private landowners in the U.S., just a few, just real quick. John Malone owns 2.2 million acres in New Hampshire, New Mexico, Texas, Wyoming, and Maine. Ted Turner owns 2 million acres between New Mexico, Colorado, Montana, Florida, and more. Archie Emerson owns 1.87 million acres in California and Washington State. Brad Kelly owns 1.7 million acres in Texas, New Mexico, and Florida. The Irving family owns 1.2 million acres in Maine. The Singleton family owns 1.11 million acres in New Mexico. The King Ranch heirs own 215 acres in Texas and Florida. And you have the Pingree heirs that own 830,000 acres in Maine. So this is important, y'all. We really have to make sure that we're doing our best to acquire land and resources. And just for some historical context, remember, America is the whole thing with the whole manifest destiny. Go west, young man, acquire land. Think of the Trail of Tears. Think of the Indian Removal Act by Andrew Jackson that was signed into law in 1830. Think of the Long Walk of the Navajo tribe of 1864. This is where the natives were forced to move from what is now Arizona to eastern New Mexico. Think of when you have your own property and the government wants to consider you a threat. Think of the move bombing of Philadelphia. Think of our Black Wall Streets. And think about who you married. Think about how land is disposed of and passed down. Think of Michael Jackson and another land ranch. Now, you say solutions. We're going to run this down, and I'm going to get off the air so you can do what you got to do for the evening. All right, solutions. I'm not going to make it complicated, but people are always, looking for some sophisticated plan or some blueprint. But the answer is really this. You've heard it before on several platforms. You've heard Dr. Claude Anderson. You've heard Dr. Amos Wilson, two great black men that talk about economics and psychology. The answer is simply this: group economics. We have got to stop throwing that phrase around like it's a trendy, conscious thing to say. It's time to do. It's time to perform. It's time for action. It's time for execution. The only thing that you need to be talking about is who you're teaming up with, how much money you're going to contribute towards an account, how frequent you're going to be contributing to an account, and then find out what resources you're going to use to research potential real estate purchases. That's it. I've given you so many facts and figures and real people that own the land. There's no more discussion, all right? We've got to make the necessary sacrifices or be prepared to be wiped out. I can scroll all up and down my Facebook timeline, see people posting photos of vacations, destination weddings, new handbags, new sneakers, shoes, new outfits, exquisite luxury restaurants where they wine and dine, how they party at happy hour, how they pop bottles at the club, how they go into Las Vegas, how they go into football games and basketball games, their purchases at Best Buy. Listen, we've got money. We just now have to redirect that to our own personal investment clubs and make sure we start buying this land, okay? The only other thing I would say is that politically we have to get involved. Like that person said in the chat room, it's time for us to really start being members of our city councils and boards. Go to those meetings. Bring your children with you. This way you can hear and participate in what's happening in the city's future plans. Bring your whole neighborhood with you so you can voice your concerns and you can intervene when you have these companies that are presenting their future proposals for land acquisition in your city. Lastly, I just want to say this. Let's not leave empty bottles of alcohol old outfits, old shoes, sneakers, photos of vacations, antiquated automobiles, and debt. Let's outfit our next generation with real, tangible assets that guarantee that we'll be competitors in this fast-paced, sophisticated global economy of the 21st century and beyond. That's what we have to do. It's mandatory. Now, I hope I've made my case convincing. I hope I've laid out all the exhibits of my argument, and hopefully this is enough to stimulate you to act. So I'm getting ready to sign out. You can reach me at my website is www.blackladder.net. You can hit me on Twitter at .swag06, DOCSWAGG06. You can hit me on Facebook at Source Radio, The Pendulum. Also, a Facebook fan page of 2 Minutes and Some Change. It reads as 2MASC, 2MASC. YouTube, you can type my name in, Samori Swygert, SAMORI SWYGERT. You want to go to iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and other digital places where you can download albums. My album Porn is available. Porn, P-O-R-N, stands for Poetry, Oration, Rhythm, and Narratives. I also have my audio book, Speak On It, Mandatory Conversations for Black America. You can purchase my book of poetry, Black Eye on America, at my website, blackladder.net. Make sure you also tune in to Tell It Like It T.I. Is podcast on Spreaker.com. Very good commentary, good new music, great artists, hailing out of Kansas City and more. These are the things. It's out there, people. It's out there. The cat is out the bag. There's no other reason we should not be engaged in group economics and buying land. There should be additions. Renting should no longer be an option. It's time to put all our selfish stuff aside. We need to start contributing monthly to a fund or account with some friends. If you have fraternity brothers or sorority sisters, your homeboys, your homegirls, anybody that you deem that has good character and that you think y'all can do this, it's time to do that. Set up a dollar amount as a goal. Set a deadline on which you wish to have this. You can also, aside from just contributing money that you earn from your paycheck, you can also engage in other fundraising ideas to help increase that amount of money. And then you can start going to these real estate auctions, and you can compete. Other than that, it's a wash. So with that being said, next Wednesday, 8 p.m., make sure you tune in. Source Radio Network, The Pendulum, www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Samori Swygert, a.k.a. Doc Swag, and I am out. Peace.